Hello, everyone, and welcome to P1 Broadcasting presents the Horizon IndyCar Series. As always, Mark Murphy here in the booth, and we're going to be joined by a special guest tonight, Jacob Collins, on loan from the Rogue Racing team, because our normal color commentator, Ryan King, he is covering the New York Auto Show for Jalopnik.com. That's tough duty, but we've got a capable replacement in his stead. And Jacob, tonight we are here for 135 laps at the old, rough, and bumpy Atlanta Motor Speedway.
You know, I'm going to rip one out of the God So book and put it as Atlanta as God intended, I believe is what he's calling the old layout of Phoenix. You know, it's old, wore out, bumpy, produced all those classic Atlanta finishes you love watching back on VHS tapes back in the early 2000s. You know, there's no place like it.
You know, this may have been the way that God so thinks that God intended it. I actually was in attendance for the spring race here in 1991 when Atlanta was shaped much like Homestead is now, except with longer corners and shorter straightaways. It was repaved in 1997 into this configuration and then not touched again until 2021 when it needed to be repaved. The surface was no longer savable, and so they had to repave it. Unfortunately, it was completely reconfigured into a 1.5 mile restrictor plate racetrack. But thankfully, just like Auto Club, just like California Speedway at Fontana, it was scanned into iRacing, and it will forever exist digitally. And so here we are. This track Jacob, I don't know if you know this or not, this track has a long IndyCar history. Did you know that?
You know, it's not one I would have really thought of off the bat, but come to think of it, they had to have had a race down south at some point. Talladega was a very short-lived thing, so this is about as close as you can get to that country. Oh, it's got a long history. So the Atlanta 500 Classic at this track dates back to 1965, and they had races on the dirt mile at the Lakewood Speedway even up through the 1940s and 50s. Ted Horn dominated the Lakewood Speedway, and then when the championship cars came here, they ran in 65, 66. They took a long break, and then they ran races in the kart series through 1983. Then they took a long break. The most recent IndyCar race here was 2001. From 1998 to 2001, the Atlanta 500 Classic was run near Labor Day, sponsored by Cobalt Tools, Midas, and Z-Max. But it is a track that is steeped in IndyCar history as well. Greg Ray owns the most Indy Racing League wins with 2. Scott Sharp, Kenny Breck won the other 2 events. The all-time winner here in IndyCars, I'll give you 2 guesses. And it's not Greg Ray. Shoot. I mean, you got to chuck an Andretti out there to try, right?
Mario Andretti won in 1966 in the Bronner Hawk.
All right. AJ Foyt?
AJ Foyt has not won a race here.
Man. I am lost for names.
The all-time IndyCar wins leader here, Rick Mears. 79, 2 in 1981. They ran 2, and in 1982, he won 4 straight. The September race in 79, the doubleheader in June of 1981, and then the race in 1982. So 4 straight wins, 5 total for Rick Mears. How about that, Collins?
That sounds like textbook domination to me.
It was indeed. We are looking at qualifying here for the Horizon IndyCar Series race at Atlanta. We're going to go ahead and get the speeds up because it is extremely fast here. Right now, Kyle Clinworth on the pole, 218,443. Edson Santos just to his outside. Another lap over 218, also over 218 miles an hour. Jari Brubaker. And once we get into it here, we're going to show the fans exactly how fast it is. But Collins, I'll tell you what we've got. We've got a starting grid, and it's just about time to rumble. On the pole, Kyle Clinworth, 218,429 miles an hour. He is going to start alongside Edson Santos. Row 2, Jari Brubaker and Series Director Matt Wagner.
Nick Wheeler and Mason Mitchum, they're going to make up row 3. Viator Guillermi, he's going to be in row 4, excuse me, next to Craig Forsyth. Alex Miller and Will Stearns, they're going to round out the top 10. In 11th, Walter Macias. 12th, Frank Wynn. Gary Lovren and Lith Fox, they're going to make up row 7. Hugo Gallas is going to start 15th. Next to Mark Cohn. Good to see Mark Cohn back in an IndyCar. Brian Greenlee is going to start 17th. Josh Ward, 18th. Stephen Lee, Jason Collins, not Jacob Collins. Don't mix up your Collinses. He's going to go in 20th. 21st, Joseph Morales. Shane Coker is race control, and he will not be scored. The cars of Ward, Lee, and Collins did not take time, nor did Joseph Morales. And there we go.
I'm already seeing the EOL penalties getting thrown. Kyle is asking for an EOL here. I'm not quite sure what he's intending. He might be going for the worst to first and just wanting to ensure he's at the back of the back.
You know, that is a strategy here. Of course, this track is just like it is in NASCAR. It is very, very, very tough on tires. This track, Jacob, and I don't know if you've run it very much, but it can almost get so free coming off of turn 4 and through the tri-oval here, that when it unloads off the banking over there on old tires, you can spin the car out just going down the straightaway.
Oh, absolutely. This is one of the tracks that I had a great time running, like ARCA and Gen 4 at, where you're just right up against the wall, getting everything you possibly can, just trying to keep those tires underneath you on those corner exits, but hitting that and nailing it lap after lap would gain you so much time, so much track position, and more importantly, it'd usually keep you pointed the right way if you could handle it.
Yeah, and that's the name of the game, is keeping the car pointed in the right direction today. There's Clindy. He has the EOL, and so that'll promote Jari Brubaker to the pole. Edson Santos to the pole position. Jari will be to his outside, but there you see it. We're going to get on the rear bumper of the pace car. This is one of the ones that I absolutely love. Of all the toys that we get to broadcast, it's the shot from the back of the pace car on the parade lap that I absolutely love, Collins.
Yeah, there's something to be said for watching everybody, gridded up, ready to go, ready to jump at every opportunity coming to that start. And, that's one of those things that everybody's trying to gain their advantage right off the get-go. What's
amazing is you're watching this off the back of a passenger car, and the rear bumper of the passenger car is level with the guy's eyes in the car. I don't know if you ever noticed that or not. These Indy cars are extremely tiny when you look at them. They don't get much higher. If you go stand next to one, the roll bar isn't much higher than the than your knee. Here we go. Underway now. 135 laps here at Atlanta in the Horizon IndyCar Series, and right out the gate, Edson Santos is going to grab the lead, and that clean air is going to be key, Collins.
It absolutely is. There's something to be said for getting your nose out in front, keeping everybody behind you to try to stay in the clean air, keep your tires on it, as this place is known to just chew those up and spit them out. You're going to want to get every last ounce of the tires you can, so the more clean air you have, the better.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you're going to see here, Jacob, is for the first part of a run, for about 10 or 15 laps, this is going to act like an old pack race at Texas. And we have an awesome audience, by the way. Gaming Guy checks in. He says, you didn't want any more new Atlanta? Absolutely not. We're here for the old school stuff. Paula Scory, she's in here rooting on Clindy, as is April. Justin Kirby, he's decided to tune it in tonight and says, good luck, fellas. And so do want to thank everybody in our audience. If you have not already done so, please do go ahead and smash the like button on the video. Click subscribe to be notified of all future P1 broadcasting iRacing action here on the channel. We are closing in on that magic 1,000 subscriber mark. As at the front, Edson Santos and Jari Brubaker, they are in a battle royale. Mason Mitchum and Matty Wagner in the pink machine. They've got ringside seats.
Yeah, and you've got to wonder if they're just trying to size up what's going to happen at the front there, because you're kind of blocked off in terms of lanes to travel through. So you're trying to get an idea of where you can stick your car just a little bit offset in either direction to kind of cut a clean air hole for you. Even if you're kind of buried 2, 3, 4 cars back, you need to try to get every little ounce of that front wing in clean air as you can.
Yeah, and something that you want to kind of keep an eye on. We're going to get on the roll bar of your road racing teammate Kyle Clinworth, and I just want to kind of illustrate for the fans at home what this looks like. We're going to get his inputs up. 200 and he's down to about 210 in the corners. I have a feeling that Clindy is just he's taking it real easy here at the beginning. Collins, is that the plan? I know you don't want to reveal too much, of course.
I'd certainly think that's the case. That was kind of the game plan we had in the race 2 of the old meme week doubleheader last night. Is we kind of knew that the chaos would ensue and we had to have cars to finish the race in. So we kind of hung back, let the wrecks happen where they lied, and try to put ourselves in position come the end of the race.
Yeah, and that's a solid strategy. But there's Clindy. He's riding along. You're not going to see the pack stay together as long here, in part because it is not all that hot. It's 111 degrees on the track, 68 in the air. I understand that Matty Wagner has said that it is going to get warmer as we go, but there's going to be tire degradation. And so, I think Clindy might be just keeping his powder dry and he might just be keeping the powder dry and keep on going. Let's get back to the front of this action. Edson Santos is now second. So the battle for the lead has resolved, Jacob. Jari Brubaker has the lead. Edson second. Mason Mitchum third. Matty Wags is holding fourth, but he has a boatload of trouble in the form of Alex Miller in fifth. And they've got the VRL car of Nick Wheeler right behind them in sixth.
Yeah, you've got to imagine all these guys are hungry to try to get closer up to the front if they can early here, because every car in front of them is another one they have to pass later or make up on strategy calls, and that gets tougher the further you get into one of these races.
It most certainly does. We're also looking at 135 laps, something that guys are going to start to consider. And one of the things I know that this man right here, Craig Forsyth, running along in seventh, is considering is fuel. This is a 90% tank, and so we would estimate anywhere between 45 and 50 laps on fuel. I am not the mathematician, but you got to go 45 a shot to make it in 2 stops. And if there's one guy out here that can save gas, it's the man in the 99. That's Craig Forsyth.
Yeah, Craig's gotten the sim comparisons of the real world Scott Dixon, who kind of runs around the middle of the pack, saves a bunch of gas, and come to the end of it, if the fuel strategy pans out, Craig's right at the front winning the race. So it's just you gotta really commit to those cards, and it's sometimes really hard to do so when you've got people blowing by you all over the place. But being able to run your race and trust your own strategy and make it to the end on those calls, and when it pans out, it feels really good.
It most certainly does, and he does subscribe to that strategy early and often. I'll tell you what he also does. He can be fast when he needs it. He and I went down to about 3 feet last night in the Area 51 race at Kentucky. I had led that whole thing. Some late cautions happened, tire strategy happened, and I found myself behind Craig Forsyth with 7 to go, and that was just a battle royale to the finish. I wound up sizing him up and sniping him at the end, as Clindy would say, but that is a rapid dude when he wants to be, Jacob.
Oh, absolutely. And that's one of those things that, especially when you come down to those wire and those close races, you're just looking for every last inch. So when the time comes to make that move to the line, you can get that snipe, get the little pip, as some people like to call it, where you're going to edge them out that little bit and get them across the line, because at the end of the day, you only got to lead the last lap to win it.
Yeah, nothing else counts but who's in front at the line at the last lap, right? So you want to make sure that you want to make sure you're there. Matty Wagner is still looking to the bottom of Mason Mitchum, and the reason that we brought it back up here is Wagner is really one of only a handful of cars that is running the lower groove. He's starting to kind of diamond the corner a little bit, and that's something that I was talking with Mark Cohn about at the just a little bit earlier today. He was asking how you save tires here. I told him, you need to learn to find clean air and find your way to the bottom. It's better, Collins, to lift here a little bit and wrap that bottom as opposed to staying in the gas and being up top.
Yeah, you're basically trying to reduce that right side scrub, so it's like a nice good barbecue. You want to go low and slow with it for a good long while, and eke out every bit of tread you may or may not have on your tires coming through here. It's not uncommon in some of these longer runs that people will actually run out of tire tread if they're pushing on the high side too hard. So you can't have no tire to finish with, otherwise you're probably ending up in the fence.
Now here's a guy that's found some clean air, and he's found his way up 6 spots. Kyle Clinworth took the EOL, started dead last on this thing after winning the pole. He is 15th, and he's looking at Brian Greenlee here for 14th. He's going to drop to the bottom. He's got Vitor Guilherme in his sights too. He's going to be next to Guilherme coming off of turn number 4. Move Clinworth to 14th, looking for 13th.
And he's rolling that low line nice and easy, probably backing up the entry so he can try to punch it off the corner and stay tucked in down there in the clean air. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to reel in the next couple cars up ahead of him.
Yeah, there he goes. He's Kyle Clinworth up to 13th. You've got the telemetry up, and you can see it, fans. He is doing exactly what Jacob Collins said he was going to do. He's rolling out. He's hunting that clean air. He's finding the bottom. He's down at 203 on mid-corner in turn number 1, but we're already 20 laps gone here, Collins. This baby's going pretty quick. Jari Brubaker still leads it. Matty Wagner's worked his way past Mason Mitchum, so put Matt Wagner up to 3rd spot in the pink car, and he's going to set his sights on the front too.
Yeah, and you've got to wonder as we get closer to about halfway through this run, more or less, if people are going to start trying to maybe think about, how early are they going to try to pit, where their fuel's at, where they think they can slot in and make it. Because it's not always about you pitting by yourself. It's how many other cars are going to come with you. You kind of have to fan out in these cars because you can't pull up right behind people coming into the pit lane, or you'd stand the chance of running through them, and that's certainly not where you want to be.
I'll tell you what, speaking of where you want to be, I don't want to be anywhere near this man right here. Kyle Clinworth, he's driving like a madman. I know it said he started first. He actually started last. He took the EOL, so he started behind the guys that took the penalty for not being able to qualify. He started 21st on this field. I don't care what that graphic says. Clindy is up to 12th. He is looking at Josh Ward for 11th, and he has been able, more than anybody else, to keep the tires under that machine. He is just as fast as the leaders.
Yeah, and you've got to wonder just how many reps it takes to be able to make that conscious decision, size the field up, and be like, yeah, I'm going to try to run it from the back and see what I can do here. There's something to be said for passing cars and passing a lot of them, and clearing through the field every once in a while. Certainly nothing else like it. No,
there's not. The thing is, too, here at Atlanta, if you don't get a bunch of cautions really quick, this track does spread out after about 10 laps. We kind of alluded to that earlier, Jacob. It spreads out after about 10 laps, and it's not like being at Vegas or somewhere where guys are 2x2x2. Chicagoland's another one like that, where guys are just 2x2x2 the whole way, and you can't get off on one another. It's going to get spread out, and if you took care of your stuff, you're going to be able to make some moves. And there goes Clinworth. He's around Mason Mitchum. Put him in the top 10. How about that?
Yeah, that's the nice payoff for being nice and easy on your tires too. Is especially the deeper you get into these runs, the more the fall off becomes. Even on new scan Atlanta, we're looking at like 3/4 of a second on like fresh tires to really old worn out ones. So the longer you can keep those on there, the faster it seems to be by the coming end of the run. How easy it is to get around other cars because you just have such a big pace difference from having that extra tire underneath you.
Yeah, and we'll illustrate that. Clindy here, we're watching him move along behind Lith Fox. His fast lap, 25.3 flat. Fastest lap for Matt Wagner, who has the fastest lap of the day so far, 25.1. So Clindy's fast lap is 0.2 slower than the fastest lap of the race. His pace right now, over the last several laps, 25.4, 25.5. He's been consistently a 10th quicker now than Jari Brubaker, Edson Santos, and Matt Wagner over the course of the last 4 or 5 laps. And so watch Clindy as he continues to move along. His next victim is going to be Markel Cone, and Cone has been taking care of his tires as well. Cone started 16th, and he's already up to 8th.
Yeah, you've got to wonder if people coming from deep in the field were thinking that they were going to want to like roll the tires real nice and long, and were just willing to hang out and let everybody at the front burn their stuff up and come through the field come the end of the fuel run, and then just have the track position and hold on to it, and then kind of rinse repeat until you get to the end of the race.
Yeah, and look at Cone. He's doing the same thing that Clindy's doing. We're going to go ahead and put the inputs up. We're going to get on board with the man behind the Joy of Driving website. But there's Mark Cone. He's going to get down to the bottom, or try to get some clean air. But he's doing the same thing Kyle is. He's rolling that bottom. You saw it, Jacob. He was all the way on the bottom earlier.
Yeah, it's you want to essentially wrap as close to the white line as possible. You know, keep your foot out of the gas until you're basically pointed through midway through the corner, roll back into it, and just kind of cruise out on exit. And the more of that you do, the easier you are on the tires, and the easier it is to make moves on guys who are struggling maybe higher lanes up because they're running out of grip.
Yeah, there you go. And there's Clindy. He's going to drop to the bottom. He's gonna do the Clindy Cindy. Pull it up next to the LC Motorsports machine of Mark Cone in the 39. And there goes the Rogue Racing leader. Is he going to get it? Cone's fighting back pretty good, though. There he goes. He's got it.
Yeah, he was right up on the boards trying to hold it out for all it was worth. But that bottom line, it's a slow roller all the time, even when you're making passes, that you could just slowly eke by them through the rest of the corner and power through them on exit.
Yeah, and then the next group that Clindy's going to be looking at is this battle. It's Craig Forsyth in fifth. Craig Forsyth in fifth. You've got Nick Wheeler in sixth. Frank Wynn is going to take six away and demote Wheeler to seventh, or at least try to. But Clindy's now knocking on the door of the top five. This is the group that's running along in the top five, and you see him sneak into the picture there. And we'll stay with this battle because it is the best one multi-car on the racetrack. But you're going to see the number 11 machine here very shortly to put himself into this fight as well. Do want to thank everybody that's in attendance. Raphael Eckert, longtime iRacing IndyCar competitor. He's checking in on his Leaner Energy teammates. Edson Santos is the leader, and you've also got Vitor Guillermi. He runs along in 17th. So a great day for the Leaner Energy boys. And thank you so much, Rafi, for checking in. Everybody else, if you have not already done so, and we know by YouTube analytics that you haven't, go ahead and smash the like button on the video. Ring the bell to subscribe to the channel and be notified of all future P1 Broadcasting iRacing events. We are 34 laps complete here at Atlanta 2008. Edson Santos is your leader. He's got Jari Brubaker all over his backside for the lead now. Brubaker is going to drop it to the inside and put Jari back to the lead. That was right on. That was right on time.
Yeah, you got to wonder if he's kind of just playing around and getting an idea of where he can build his runs up later on in this race, because it's hard to judge if you haven't tried it a couple times where you're going to be able to make your move, especially on tracks like this where, the tire fall off is what it is, but being able to stay close enough to the person in front of you to even generate a run in some cases is much harder than just sticking around in front of them.
Here we go. Kyle Clinworth, speaking of runs, he got a big run on Frank Wynn. Wynn tried to shut it off on the top. Clindy drops it to the bottom. He'll move past the 97, move the 11 to the 7th spot. You've got Nick Wheeler. He's still up here battling Craig Forsyth. This is for 5th and 6th, but the specter of that teal and black number 11 is starting to loom large for these guys here in the top 5, Jacob.
Yeah, and it seems to be every other lap he's inching closer to another position in front of him, and it's almost a matter of time before he's caught up into that top 5. You start getting maybe a couple cars that are harder to pass, and you wonder how long he's going to be held up. But we're getting close to the end of the fuel run here, so there's not going to be too much more time left for him to make those passes.
Yeah, we've got 38 laps on the board here. The 45 is the magic number. I would expect the smart money would be everybody is going to hit pit road on lap 46, just because you want to get off those tires. The pace has dropped substantially now. Craig Forsyth under fire from Nick Wheeler. We're watching him. These guys are running 25.6 now, so they're 0.4 off the ultimate pace. Clindy, though,
he's only dropped 2.5 tenths, and so he's been doing a great job managing those tires. Clinworth, though, not quite to Wheeler. They'll go one more lap. Wheeler, got to be careful. Jacob, got to be careful racing this hard on old tires. This is when it starts to get really free coming off the corner right there.
It absolutely does, and it's one of those things that we see every time we come to here, regardless of the scan, is just old tires and beat-up tires, especially on starts and restarts. There just seems to be very odd transitions in the pavement coming to the line there. So trying to keep your tires underneath you, keep being able to put the throttle down at all becomes difficult, especially when you're, pushing as hard as you are through the corner sometimes, and you just run out of grip and send it into the wall spinning backwards.
Looking at it from the grandstands, this is what you would see if you were in the seats here. This one right at the start-finish line. Clinworth, he's going to drop to the bottom of Nick Wheeler. Is he close enough to make the move, Collins? He is not quite there. There he is. So he's got position. Wheeler going to stay up high. Those cars are painted very similarly, though they are not teammates. That is a sponsorship agreement on the side of the rogue entry for Clindy. Nick Wheeler is a member of the Votive Racing League team, but there goes Clindy. Gary Brubaker is going to hit pit road. He's already stopped at lap number 43. The battle, though, is going to rage on. Matt Wagner, by virtue of the pit stop, is going to take the lead, or Friari is going to take the lead, and he's got Santos all over his rear end, too.
Yeah, and you've got to wonder how much longer does he opt to stay out, knowing that there's going to be guys on faster tires coming. However, keep it in the back of your head. You got to hit like 45s to make it on fuel the whole way through. So Yari pitting a couple laps early here might come to bite him later on if he doesn't get maybe a lucky yellow later in the race where he can come in and get a top up just when he needs it. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, Will Stearns has also hit pit road. He is called Uncle as well. He went one lap further than Yari Brubaker. We're coming to get lap 44 complete and begin lap 45. So one more time and they've hit the magic number, and I gotta believe we're gonna see wholesale pit stops, Jacob, this next time through. If not this time, the next time. Mark Cohn is hit pit road.
Yeah, you've got to imagine, especially as these kind of the smaller groups get a bit more spaced out, that they're kind of thinking as to how they're going to be able to get further up the field, and that's really going to come down to strategy calls past the point. Because there's only going to be so much you can do.
It is. Clindy is going to send you to the outside of Alex Miller. He's going to try to get two for the price of one around the outside of Craig Forsyth, going through turn number 2. Move Clinworth up to third. Nick Wheeler is stopped on the pit road.
Quite the daring move.
He's so fast I can't keep up with him. Craig Forsyth is going to hit pit road, and we have got wholesale action now headed toward the pit lane. Santos, Forsyth, they're going to pit road. We're going to keep it right here with Clindy. He was 2 tenths quicker than Matt Wagner that time, looking for the leaders to make their stops. There's Wagner. The car immediately behind him is Will Stearns. Vitor Guilherme has a black flag for speeding on the pit lane as Wagner comes in and hits pit road. Alex Miller right behind him. Frank Wynn behind him. Here comes Josh Ward. And I believe that's going to be Lith Fox as well back there. Gary Lovren is going to pit the VOR machine. Yari Brubaker goes to the fast lap. Mass Chaos. Brubaker goes to the top with the purple lap. He is back up to 14th spot. This man, though, right here, Kyle Clinworth, he's staying out.
And you've almost got to wonder if he's thinking in the back of his head, it's kind of the enemy with your tires situation, because there is something to be said for new tires being a bit of a pain to work with, too, especially when they're cold and new. You still got to put a little bit of heat in for them to grip up, especially that first lap or so around.
We've got a car on the bottom. I believe that is no, that's not Mark Cohn. That's going to be it's Forsyth. Craig Forsyth has got a busted nose. We need to go back and check out what has happened with Craig Forsyth here. So Craig coming off a pit road. The apron here has banking right next to the track. It's not as banked as the track, and you have got to be careful over there, Jacob, coming off of turn number 2 on that apron. Watch Craig on the cold tires.
Yeah, and it's just like I said, especially with that that pit lane exit being what it is, it's really hard to get those cold tires to stick. You have to be really patient trying to get through the gas there, trying to get up to speed. But you don't also want to be spending too much time trying to get through the gears, or you're going to lose tons of time on the track. So it's that risk reward that sometimes you overstep the bounds just a little bit too much, ask for a little more of the tires than they can give you, and around you go.
There you go. Jason Collins did have the lead briefly. He's going to pull it into pit lane, and that's going to hand the lead back over to Matt Wagner, and Jari Brubaker has gone to the front over Matt Wagner. So score Brubaker, Wagner, Edson Santos is going to be third in the leaner energy machine, and we might as well just go through the field really quick. There's Santos. We've talked about Brubaker and Wagner. There's Santos. Alex Miller runs fourth. He is in the TMR machine. We'll do what Clindy does. We'll take says I do. I'll take attendance. Whose that, Collins?
Well, they're all still present, seemingly.
They are indeed. There's Nick Wheeler. He runs fifth. Mark Cohn, I erroneously said he had crashed the Sim Gaming Expo LC Motorsports machine. Not so. He runs along in sixth. And so it's great to see him both back in the car and running well. He is sixth. Frank Wynn is seventh. The Japan Candies pink and teal Honda. Josh Ward, the former Votive Racing League champion, is eighth. Running long right there. That did cost Clindy a little bit. He went from basically third or fourth on the road, depending on how you want to score it, to ninth.
I think the bigger issue for Clendy on his stop is it looked like he overshot his pit box and had to back up like a considerable amount. So that probably cost him a couple seconds. And that's all it takes to go from, third, fourth down to ninth, 10th, where he's at.
It did. It did. So 36 seconds on pit lane for Clinworth, 33 for Brubaker in the lead. And that'll cost you. Stephen Lee is going to be scored in 10th, the familiar J.R. Hildebrand machine we see in top splits on Tuesday nights near you. Lith Fox is going to run along in the 47 in the 11th spot. Hugo Galez in the Copper Velocity Online Racing machine is 12th. The old school campaigner Hugo Galez. Brian Greenlee is 13th. Clindy just sets the fastest lap in the 38th. He is 13th. Was 13th because Mason Mitchum just went past him in the Votive Racing League's machine. Will Stearns, Grandpa, the 306. He is 15th, and he's got a battle on his hands because Walter Macias in the nighttime cool car just went through and passed him for 15th, and he's got Gary Lovren in the Velocity Online Racing machine just coming past him in the 17th. Joseph Morales in the 60 runs along in 18th. Jason Collins, 19th. We saw him lead a lap just earlier. Craig Forsyth, after his spin off of pit lane, is 20th. He is one lap down. Vitor Guilherme is on pit lane, and he has been there for the last 3 minutes and 45 seconds and counting. And so there is your field. We're going to head back to the lead. Jari Brubaker runs along right behind Craig Forsyth. Matt Wagner is second. Santos third. Alex Miller is fourth. Clindy has made it back up to seventh. He battles alongside of Mark Cohn one more time, trying to get sixth.
Yeah, and you're starting to see as the race goes on here that a lot of guys are starting to crowd up near the high side. So you've got to wonder if they're just trying to maximize speed through the corners and move their way forward through the draft, pulling them forward because everybody's kind of staying up near the top, and the guys on the bottom are kind of just sniffing the clean air in front of them and hoping they can generate a run. That may or get easier or harder depending on how you look at it. If there's more cars up top, there's less clean air up there, but you can also get a big toe off the corner to try to make up the lost time. It's the battle of the wits there.
I'll tell you what, we aren't battling. We are not battling time. 31 minutes into this race, Jacob. We're nearly halfway done. We're watching the battle for anywhere between 4th and 7th. You've got Nick Wheeler at the head of this train. He is 4th. Alex Miller in the TMR machine is 5th. Mark Cohn for LC Motorsports runs 6th, and Clindy is 7th. This is a knot of cars, or a wad if you prefer the Darrell Waltrip interpretation, but they are right on top of each other. Do want to thank everybody in the chat, watching the broadcast at home. We do have a bunch of people watching, and that's always an awesome sign. If you have not already done so, and we know by YouTube analytics about half of you have not, make sure you smash the like button on the video, ring the bell to subscribe to the P1 Broadcasting Network, and when you subscribe, you get notified of all of the upcoming iRacing action on the P1 Broadcasting channel. And as a bonus, when we get to 1,000, and we are close, it was what, 42 more, Collins, earlier today?
Believe so.
That man right there in the teal and black, number 11, is going to break out the rattle can, and he is going to paint. He is going to paint some names on the side of his car. I believe he was going to draw one name for every 100, and he was going to shout them out in interviews and the whole 9 yards. So don't miss out on that very special opportunity for one of IndyCar's best oval racers in the series, in the service. That guy's fast. You'll get shouted out a lot, I promise.
Oh, absolutely. Every opportunity he has to put that car up at the front and give it as much TV time and talk about all his sponsors and his friends and family at home. He's got the rattle can in his mouth and on the car.
Now I'll tell you what, if you want to sponsor a car that will not be on TV because the driver is a bonehead, put your name on the side of my car. I tend to not be interviewed or make broadcasts because I'm slow. So I'm old and slow, right, Collins?
I don't know about that, Mark. You've been pretty fast the bulk of the time I've seen you. I was trying to chase you down Monday night in the Israel League, and you were sending me out to lunch.
Clindy's got Cohn out to lunch. He goes into 6th, and now he's battling alongside the car of Alex Miller in 5th. We hate to focus on one car, but the 11 has passed everybody in the field now twice, almost.
Close to it, and you've got to wonder if he's sized the field up and knows when he needs to mount his charge towards the front come the end of it if it comes down to a late race mount through the last pit cycle.
Yeah, one of the things that I did want to kind of mention is we watched Frank Wynn go around the car of Mark Cohn. Cohn move him back to 8th. One of the things I did want to note is the tire strategy, which is you've got, of the front runners, and we're going to go ahead and I'll go ahead and put the stint time up here. Of the front runners, Jari Brubaker stopped first. He's 25 laps on his current run, so he's already halfway done, more than halfway. Matt Wagner, 21 laps. Edson Santos, 22. Kyle Clinworth, 18 laps. Nick Wheeler, 23. Or 19 now. And so, Collins, what's the outlier if you read that tree? What number sticks out at you? What two numbers?
Well, I'd say Stearns and Brubaker on the early game is pretty early, and then you've got Kyle Clenworth on essentially the opposite end of that, who pit approximately 8 laps later. And that's not an insignificant amount of time on those tires when you come down to the end of these things, especially if you can pit with, say, 25 to go and have tires that are 15 laps fresher than the guys out in front of you.
Absolutely true. Watching the battle while we talk about tires, which I know everybody in the audience wants to hear Collins and I drone on about tires. But watch the end of this race. This is not going to be predicated on fuel so much as it is tires. That is a massive advantage for the guys who went long on the first run. If they can go long on the second run, we would anticipate Clinworth. He went 50 laps on his first stretch. If he goes 50 more on the next one, not only is he going to have the freshest rubber at the end, he's going to be able to take less fuel. Less fuel is going to be less weight. Less weight is going to stand that rear wing up a little bit. It's going to cure the loose condition. That car is going to drive a heck of a lot better at the end, and he's going to have a lot more to fight with when it comes down to it. Alex Miller got awfully close to the wall there. I don't think he hit it, but Collins, he did everything but.
Yeah, and he's big on the sprinters, the dirt sprint cars. I know he's been running a lot of the 410 Tour series, the top splits of those. And obviously, as everybody knows, the Larson line of ripping the boards, that's kind of the whole dirt way of doing things. So he's definitely made some familiar company with the walls at the tracks of the world.
He most certainly has. Do want to just go back to the front real quick. We haven't shown a lot of them. Jari Brubaker is the leader. Right behind him, you've got a battle for second. Brubaker has about half a second, but then you've got Matt Wagner and Edson Santos. They're running along second and third. Clinworth now has sole possession of fourth, but he is 5.5 seconds behind this battle, and that 3 seconds, that 3-second gaff of his on pit road, that's a massive number when it comes down to this thing. Jari Brubaker has been out 31 laps, and he's got to be looking at coming into the pit lane here in the next 10 to 15, and so keep your eye on that too.
Yeah, and it's really hard to gauge just how big time losses are going to be when you make them, because it takes, a dozen or so laps for them to really pan out to see just how far back you're going to wind up, because it's not just the 3 seconds you may lose from having to back up into your box. It's the next half second here or there you spend fighting, trying to get past the cars you got stuck behind because of that mistake. Just compounds and snowballs.
Yeah, it's like compound interest in your 401k, right?
I'm still trying to figure that thing out, man. I've got one of those. I have yet to look at it. I probably should. I'm a young stupid kid though, so I got time.
I gotta tell you, Collins. I'll tell you exactly what you do with that 401k. Don't ever look at it. Right? Get sound professional financial advice. Let the pros do their job. Look at the statement once a year. My call with my finance guy goes like this every year. Right? He calls me up. He asks, "You got any questions?" I say, "Yep." "Am I broke?" He says, "Nope." And I said, "All right, I'll talk to you in March of next year." Fair enough.
Yeah, it seems to be the long con with that, right? It's like if you don't need to pull out now, you're not super concerned about the state of things as they sit now. You're just hopeful that they're trending in the right direction at the end of the road.
Yeah, and speaking of that long game, we talked about Clindy. He was 5.5 down just when we started talking about the stock market. He's 4.5 down now. Clinworth is 4.5 back of Santos now. Clindy is coming. As we watch Matt Wagner.
Yeah, and it's all about the tires, right? Like he may be a couple, like a tenth and a half slower those opening couple laps, trying to keep the tires under him longer, but only falling off a tenth to maybe 2 at the most come the end of the run. Mm-hmm. That's where you start paying dividends over the guys that wear their stuff up, and maybe even another 3 or 4 tenths off of that.
Well, and remember, he's got more options when it comes to the end of this run. One of the things that I do want to note, riding on the roll hoop of Jari Brubaker, Collins, if you're Jari and you're looking out of that aero screen, tell me what you see in front of you.
Well, you've got some potential lap traffic. Usually that's an indicator that you can stay behind them, save a little bit of gas, lift around, just hang out. Try to keep them in front of you so you can pace yourself a little bit and save that extra gas you might need at this point, having pushed clean out so far the bulk of this run.
You can, but what's the disadvantage?
Well, you've got the lap cars in front of you. Anything can happen.
Well, you've also got the dirty air. And so
this is true.
The aero push does not care that Craig Forsyth is a lap down running the bottom. It just knows that Jari is there. You can tell that Jari Brubaker has had to move his line off the bottom to accommodate the car of Craig Forsyth being there. Forsyth is running along as the only car lap down, and so if there's a yellow white, Craig Forsyth is in position to get his lap back. He is not going to let Jari Brubaker go by and put him 2 down. And so Craig, well within his rights to fight, and that is a fast guy. That's a guy that's going to fight for his position, and he's well within his rights to do it. But that is forcing Jari Brubaker to not run the preferred line, Jari having to go to the middle instead of the bottom. That lets Matt Wagner run the bottom, and you saw Matty Wags get pretty free coming off of turn 4 right there. But it lets Matty Wags run the bottom if he likes, which in turn allows him to stay right up the gearbox of the leader, Jari Brubaker. And you watch Edson Santos. Santos has fallen back a little bit, but Jari at 42 laps now, Collins, he's going to have to be thinking about hitting this pit lane.
Yeah, you've certainly got to think that to be the case, especially with how short his opening run was. But maybe he learned a lesson or two from his opening run's going to maybe take it a little bit longer, but only time will tell.
Yes, indeed. We've got a challenge for the lead here. Matt Wagner is going to climb to the high side. He's going to see if he can't make like Kyle Larson, rip the top and go around Jari Brubaker. He does so, but Jari, he's headed for pit lane here, lap 85 of 135. And so this is the flip side of what Clindy did. Jari is going to stop as early as possible, and he's going to have to run these tires for the last 50 laps. Move Wagner to the lead. Santos is second. Kyle Clinworth is third, and he has now chopped that deficit to Santos to 2.5 seconds. Consistently about 0.2 a lap quicker, Collins. It's about 0.2 a lap.
That will pay off in dividends, especially as we come to this last run here, because it's going to be shorter. He's going to have less gas in the tank, so he'll probably just be even faster outright. And you've got to think that he knows he can make the tires last 50 laps. All he has to do is push a little bit harder and make him go only 35 instead. That sounds like, a good place to put yourself come the closing stages of this race.
Yeah. Yes, it does. So watching along, Kyle Clinworth here, he is running third. He is chasing down the leaders. Clindy, the last time through 25, 463. Matt Wagner, 25, 643. Jari Brubaker is back on the speedway, and we're going to see exactly what Jari has got in the tank here for his out lap, his first lap back at speed. He is trapped a lap down, though, Collins. You got to be careful. You don't want the yellow to come out and be trapped that lap down.
Yeah, it's always that cat and mouse game of being the first one to come down and losing that lap and having to hope and pray that you don't have to take a wave if you don't need to, especially in cases where you're trying to run long and maybe get a wave.
We've got our answer. We have got our answer. There's the lap times for everybody out on the racetrack right now. Matty Wagner 25.599, Clindy 25.397, Jari Brubaker 25.166 the last time through. That's the advantage of the short pit. Is he is going to have a big lead, but he is going to have to both save some gas, and he is going to be awfully slow at the end of this run. Meanwhile, Mason Mitchum has a black flag. Green flag stops underway. Mark Cohn has also stopped. Mason Mitchum on the pit lane. Nick Wheeler has come down. And so we're just waiting on the leaders. The gap to Edson Santos has been erased, Collins. Clindy is there, 0.6 of a second now.
Yeah, and if you look just a little further back, it looks like the gap between Alex Miller and Frank Nguyen essentially hasn't moved the entire rest of this run, honestly. So it's going to be interesting to see if these continue to try to stay close together here, and if they start playing maybe a bit of a cat and mouse game, trying to strategize towards the front as Alex Miller comes to the pits.
Yes, he does. So does Edson Santos. So does Craig Forsyth. They are on the pit lane. Do want to thank Leonardo Salvador for checking in. Will Stearns has parked the 306, but he does say it's a good race and a very strong group, and we echo that sentiment. 93 laps of green flag action. Wagner leads it now. We're going to watch the pit stop for Alex Miller. Forsyth down and away in front of him. And let's check in on Craig. Let's see if he does the same here. Clindy on pit lane with 42 to go. So that's going to put the lead in the hands of Frank Nguyen. Matt Wagner has a black flag. Speed on pit road. Did you notice something there, Collins?
Potential lot of smoke on the pit end.
Craig Forsyth, when he was coming off the pit lane that time, got off the banking when he got to the gas.
Yep. That's kind of the preferred place I like to be. You're not trying to fight the track as much if you kind of sit in between, like dead center of the apron there. It's a lot easier than trying to run right up along the traditional transition line on that inside.
Yes, indeed. Stephen Lee has assumed the lead in his hometown, Atlanta, Georgia, but he is going to have to come to pit lane soon, and he is going to do so in the J.R. Hildebrand Ed Carpenter Racing Special. Slides that right front to a stop. Stephen Lee is going to surrender the lead. Jari Brubaker goes back to
second spot. He is going to be the eventual leader. I keep touching the side. I keep touching the on-off switch on my mic with my cheek. That's what you guys are hearing if I cut off. But Yari is going to assume the lead. Stephen Lee has left his pit box. And there you see just briefly Stephen Lee in the corner of your screen. He's coming off pit lane. There's Jason Collins. He is coming off of the pit lane. So Brubaker to the lead. 4.5 seconds the advantage for that short pit.
That's an advantage that you have to try your darndest to hold on to, and that's the struggle that comes down to at the end of it is when you run out of tire, you're kind of a sit and duck past a point because the guys behind you may have held on to their tires a little longer and are able to mount more charges on you. And when you don't have the tire to kind of put your car anywhere, you get stuck in the tree like a cat.
Well, it's good news, bad news for Brubaker. The good news is he's got some lap cars in front of him. We know he's going to have to save some fuel. So good news is he's got some lap cars in front of him to draft off of. Also good news is Craig Forsyth behind him. We know Craig is going to want to get one of his laps back. And then I believe that is Joseph Morales behind Craig. Those are two fast cars. Matt Wagner goes to the purple lap, 24.957. 2:17.807 the time, or the speed. Frank Wynn answers back, so these guys are trading purple laps. But good news for Brubaker, he didn't have anybody around him, right? Contesting him for position. The bad news is he's not exactly in clean air, and he has got a long way to go. There is an 8-lap differential on tires between Brubaker and Clinworth, 7 laps between Brubaker and Santos. We're going to go to the battle for second because it is on between the 11 and the 20. That's Santos and Clinworth.
Yeah, coming out of the pit lane, that gap was essentially nothing, and it's kind of stayed roughly around that nothing standpoint in terms of just how far away the cars are. Kyle's kind of been playing the patience game here, seeing where Edson's going to go, just kind of rolling around, trying to size him up a little bit, get an idea of where he can pull his run and try to make a move on him, and it looks like that might be the case right about now.
Well, it is worth mentioning that this is a season-long championship. Collins, there are only 2 races after this, Nashville and Indianapolis. We've got a week off, and then we go to Nashville on April 30th, and then the finale at Indianapolis is May the 7th for a 250 miler at the Speedway. But this is a championship, and so this is a championship, and Clindy does lead that championship by 68 points over Alex Miller. He is 82 clear of Josh Ward, Matt Wagner 91 back, Hugo Gallas 127 off, and kind of the thing here for Clindy is going to be he's not necessarily racing Yari Brubaker. He's racing Alex Miller. Alex Miller right now is 8th, right? He's racing Josh Ward. Josh Ward is 7th. He's racing Matt Wagner. Matty Wagner with a speeding ticket on pit road. He is 16th. And so you have to consider those things, Jacob. I know that Clindy always wants to Clindy Cindy, but you have to consider championship, and you have to consider the prize at the end. Remember, they don't pay the money for these things for each race. They pay the money at the end, brother.
Well, sometimes there's glory to be had now, and there's glory to be had later, and Kyle wants it now and later. He's like everybody's favorite Candy, right?
To the outside of Edson Santos, he goes, I don't know. He probably has the broadcast up. He hears Murphy talking about racing smart and racing for points, and says, I'll show that old grizzled guy. Drives it right around the outside Edson Santos. But my point holds, and so you have to be mindful of that too. Does he have anybody spotting him over there? You got like Ty or anybody?
Far as I would think, I don't think there's anybody in there. It's possible some of the other road guys have come in the last hour or so, and they're trying to give him a hand or two. You see, normally, Mark, that's my job. So I traded a hat for another hat today, and I'm out of cards there.
See, what you did was you took it for the glory of the network instead of the glory of the team. You said, I've got a choice. I can keep Clindy out of trouble, or I can keep Murphy out of trouble. Which one is the greater challenge? and you selected keeping me out of trouble.
That certainly seems like the harder situation to navigate for sure.
It most certainly is. And if everybody out in that audience, and we do have a big one, a big one out there, if you haven't already done so, as a reminder, make sure you smash the like button on the video, ring the bell, subscribe to the channel, and be notified of all future P1 Broadcasting iRacing events. We have flipped the page at the top, 28 laps to go. Kyle Clinworth is on the bottom of Edson Santos for second, and they have started to reel in Jari Brubaker 0.2 of a second that last time through. The additional 8 laps on the tires now, Collins, that's going to start to show up.
It absolutely will, and you even look the next group behind them with Stephen Lee, Cone, Wheeler, Ward, Miller. They're starting to get closer together as the run progresses, so it'll probably only be a matter of time until you have maybe a 4, 5, maybe even 6 car battle for fourth coming down to it here. And everybody's trying to make the most of the tires while they got them, and it's the cat and mouse game of, well, I've got tires, but I also know I need tires later. I'm gonna want to try to save just a little bit.
Yeah, completely true. And I do want to thank everybody for your patience out there. We're experiencing some high winds. It appears as though the electricity has gone off across the street from my house, and so we're going to try to stick with it as best we can. But it may be one of those situations where if we get disconnected, Collins, it could just be it could just be a thing here. Jacob, can you hear me? You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Mark.
Could you hear any of that?
Yeah, you've got wind across the street, it sounds.
Yeah, we've got some pretty high winds in the area. I turned around and looked, and there is no power across the street from my house. So I apologize to everybody for the blinking issues, but the lights in my house just flickered too. So we're going to stay with you as long as we can. But if we get cut off, that is why. It appears as though everything just did stabilize, though. So maybe we're in good shape. Anyway, Josh Ward going to dive to the bottom of Mark Cone. We were just talking about this battle that's brewing behind Clinworth and Santos. Stephen Lee, Nick Wheeler, they're going after it now for 4th and 5th. And it's that time of the race, Jacob. It's that time of the race, right? It's time to smoke him if you got him, right?
Smoke them if you got them, and I ain't hear no bell yet, so people are going to start throwing the moves that think they can get them as far up the field as they possibly can. And what I'm noticing is as we get close to the end here, it's basically everybody's got a battle that they can fight here. A couple guys towards the tail end of the lead lap are kind of huddling together, pushing it for all they got. You've got Galliz and Messias and Greenlee and Lovern all roughly within about a second and a half of each other. Are they going to start navigating each other, trying to get leapfrog one over the other, just kind of fight for all they got? Because at the end of the day, that's what builds momentum and championship runs and all the other things, and all the improvement that comes with navigating racing.
Most certainly is. This battle has stabilized, but what hasn't stabilized is the Josh Ward, Mark Cone, Alex Miller battle royale. This is 6th, 7th, and 8th. You've got Ward in 5th. You have Ward 6th, Cone 7th, Miller 8th. The pink car in the back, that is Matt Wagner. He is 1 lap down in 16th due to a speeding ticket. Do thank everybody for your patience. It appears as though either my backup stuff has kicked on or whatever has affected the internet strength and the power. The exchange box for our fiber is actually across the street. So when I saw the power, when I looked and turned around and there was no lights, I said, uh-oh, but it seems to have come back on. And so, whew, Collins.
Certainly a good thing to hear.
Either that or my backup generator's on and I just don't know it yet. Anyway. Jari Brubaker leads it 2.3 seconds. Clindy is continuing to close. He's got Joseph Morales in front of him. He'll want to dispose of that lap car as quickly as humanly possible because he can smell it now. He knows he is quicker than Jari Brubaker ahead of him. He knows he has the better tires. And so Clindy is going to start to full Cindy down to 2.1 seconds very briefly, 2.2. Last time through, just half a tenth, but he was dealing with some lap traffic there, Collins.
Yeah, and it was basically as soon as you said he had to deal with it, he dealt with it, and he's onto the chase back towards Jari. Edson will probably be trying to follow suit here as fast as he can to try to see if he can stay in the tow, if there's any tow to be had left, especially as Kyle starts to get into his element on the later part of this run.
Yeah, and we're going to get on the roll bar because there are now no cars between Jari Brubaker. That is Jari up ahead. He's got the that blue and white speck in front of the black car. That's Craig Forsyth, and I got to think that Forsyth being there is not doing Jari any favors. It's forcing him to run a different line. And Brubaker already we know is going to be short on tires, and being out 35 laps, he's going to have to go 50 on this last run. Jari might also be short of fuel.
Yeah, and this is about the time that you got to start, really, really backing it up if you're going to not make your number. If you're like short and don't think you can make it, you're going to try to give everybody the impression that you can. Try to fake them out a bit and see if they start pushing their stuff up to try to catch you. There's kind of two ways to play it. You either go all in or back out as early as you can to try to make the most of the situation in which you find yourself.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're at now. Gaming Guy checks in. He says Rafi Eckert would be good here because he's really good at managing his tires. I can vouch for Rafael Eckert being very good at tracks like Atlanta, Homestead, Texas, and Kentucky, where you really have to manage your tires. Watching the man Kyle Clinworth try to work up to Jari Brubaker. Brubaker, though, put the old boots to it. Jari is now matching Clinworth's time and may be a little bit quicker. He's pulled right up on the back of Craig Forsyth here, and so maybe Jari thinks now's the time to go. But again, how much is he using those already hurt tires, Jacob?
Yeah, you've got to imagine being in the dirty air on the high sides, maybe doing a little bit more wear, but it's entirely possible. It's also helped him by being able to save a bit more fuel, maybe lift a little more, trying to get through the corners. It's coming down to the wire here because you only got about another 10 laps, and it's going to be when the bell rings and class is out.
Maybe we should get IndyCar to do that. It could be kind of like a track meet where you get to the last 5 laps or something, and instead of the handful from the flag stand, the flagman rings a bell, right? That would be awesome.
If you ring the bell too early, then you got all the people just throwing all the moves out too early. You gotta get people prepared for it. So if you time it, let everybody know ahead of time. That's not that fun. You gotta like spin a wheel and pick a random lap and be like, this is we're gonna ring the bell, and everybody's got to start just going full send.
Yeah, and just like that, Jari Brubaker has gotten by Craig Forsyth, but in doing so, Kyle Clinworth chopped out now. Holy Moses! He chopped out a full second. Clindy and Jari to the bottom. I think he's out of fuel. I think Jari Brubaker is out of fuel. Either that or he got very loose, but Clindy is there. We're on board with Brubaker. We're going to get off of his car because we don't want to miss the pass for the lead. But I am interested to see, did he hit anything or did he just get loose? Collins, what did you see?
It looked like he came off of turn 4, kind of up near the wall, and just got loose by the time he made that transition to the through the quad oval there. That is about the spot where there's like a couple weird bumps, especially on the high side. You see a lot of guys try to get real low on restarts and starts because of that, because it seems easier to avoid those bumps or the weird tarmac there. So that gap closed right up, and Kyle's right on by as Yari's coming to the pit lane.
Yeah, he's coming to the pit lane. He has had enough. Jari Brubaker is done. Those tires are toast with 7 laps to go, and that's going to hand the lead to Kyle Clinworth. And Clindy not out of the woods yet, because if I look back, I see a Leaner Energy car driven by Edson Santos
He's within a second and a half. Stephen Lee is in third. Nick Wheeler and Josh Ward are going to round out your top 5.
That's always something you got to keep in the back of your head, too, is that there's at every opportunity that presents itself, there's going to be another opportunity that gets presented to someone else, and they're going to either take it or, think on it for the half second that race car drivers like thinking for, and then jump on it and, kind of make the bet as you lie in it.
Half a second? We think about things for half a second?
Well, I got to give us a little credit, Mark. Come on now.
Collins, when's the last time you and I thought about anything for a half a second combined?
Well, I thought real long and hard about signing up for that second Atlanta race last night after I got clogged up on the high side and just got obliterated. I got some good screen time for all my sponsors, though, in the first one. And, obviously I came back and mounted a solid charge coming into that race on 50 some odd lap old tires. So I thought about it. I thought about it real good. And I think I made a good decision.
Did you see the Photoshop that we put together for Clindy of me turned over at Indianapolis?
I don't know. I don't know if I've seen that one.
My car is upside down next to the wall, and you're viewing the underwing, and on the underwing it says "Hi, Clindy."
There you go.
So there you go. That is a Photoshop. You cannot paint the underwings of these cars anymore. You used to be able to do it. Walter Macias has a black flag. He is going to be called to the pit lane. Jari Brubaker has dropped to 15th after having led the most laps tonight. That is hard to stomach. Ran so well, but this man right here accepted the worst to first challenge. He leads it. Edson Santos has begun to fade in second. We are white flag. Barney has it in his hands. This is the last lap here on the P1 Broadcasting Network. Clinworth through turns 1 and 2. He is not going to make, I don't think, any effort to pass anybody in front of him. Edson Santos half the straightaway back. Clinworth, he'll take the high line through turn 3, through turn number 4. We'll get in the fisheye camera, and Kyle Clinworth is going to win here at Atlanta 2008. Edson Santos crosses the line second. Stephen Lee, there's Stephen in third. My goodness gracious. We had this race, Jacob, in 1 hour flat. How about that?
I love long green flag runs and pit strategy. These are my favorite things. It doesn't get much better than being able to just click laps off and let the comers and goers come and go.
I am definitely going to have to agree with you there. On the results, Kyle Clinworth, he is going to be the winner as he takes the laps around the he takes the laps around the Legends Oval. Edson Santos is going to be second. In third, Stephen Lee to round out your podium, his home race. How about that for Stephen Lee? In fourth, Nick Wheeler. Fifth, Josh Ward. Alex Miller is sixth. Mark Cohn is going to bring it home seventh. Hugo Gallas eighth. Lith Fox is ninth, and Brian Greenlee. How about a nice run for Brian Greenlee? Round out your top 10. In 11th, you're going to see Gary Lovern. 12th, Joseph Morales. Jason Collins is 13th. Jari Brubaker, 14th. Matt Wagner, 15th. Frank Wynn, 16th. Craig Forsyth, 17th. Mason Mitchum is 18th. Walter Macias, 19th. Out of the race in 20th, Will Stearns. And last on the field, Vitor Guilherme. Race control, Shane Coker, of course, is not in the field. And let's see if we can't get some drivers in the interview room here, Mr. Collins. Well, maybe not. Everybody's got to jump up and go to the bathroom, right?
Probably. I mean, I'm sure they've been holding it in this whole time.
That's like the first thing I always do, right? So I have this little ritual before the race. I jump up, or before the race, I get up, I go to the bathroom, I make my Gatorade, I come back, I get in the car, and that's right about the time that it goes to, about a minute to grid. And then immediately after the race, I jump up, go to the restroom, come back, grab a adult refreshment, and settle in to watch the interviews or give mine. But we do have Stephen Lee in the booth. Steven, you've got Mark and Jacob Collins in the broadcast booth. You got a copy? Stephen Lee, you've got Mark and you've got Murph and Jacob Collins in the broadcasting booth. You got a copy? I think Steven is muted. He might have jumped into the
There we go. Wrong mic.
wrong mic. Well, that's a rookie mistake. You're fined 5,000 pesos. Thank you so much for joining us, Steven. You got Mark and Jacob Collins in the booth tonight. The beautiful wreck, Ryan Eric King, is off covering the New York Auto Show for Jalopnik, so he decided he couldn't be here. But we do thank you for being here. You've got the J.R. Hildebrand Special up in third place. This is your home race. Talk to us about the run and how you made it to the bottom step of the podium tonight, my man.
I feel like I did very well, considering that my buddy Walter sent me a message and told me, hey man, remember the league races tonight? And I had zero practice, so I didn't qualify. Started rear of the field, and just said, well, these 1.5 miles sometimes go green. Let's fuel save, and fuel saved from the very beginning. And I ran out on the back stretch of the cool down lap, so we were able to make the car to make it to where we could get up to third and just save the tire the whole run.
There you go. Mr. Collins, what do you have for Stephen Lee?
You know, that seemed to kind of be a shared strategy with a lot of the guys at the back of the field was, get big fuel saves early on in the race and work their way through the field. What goes through your head trying to make those long runs pan out? And, when do you opt to kind of put the guns on it and start firing away at come the end of the race?
To me, the dirty air right at the beginning, just sitting there trying to stay pace with Clindy, since he's one of the fastest guys in this league. Just follow him and kind of see what he does. And since he wanted an EOL, I'm like, okay, he'll probably fuel save. Not that he told me that. He didn't tell me anything. But old Atlanta is notorious for tire degradation. So lift early, save the tire, let other people burn their stuff up, save the tire, run the Kevin Harvick line, save the tire, and let the race fall in your lap. And once we got that second pit stop and got the clean air, I was able to put it back in fuel map 1 and get set sail for a good bit, considering we had 10 laps on everybody else's that had to pit earlier that wasn't getting quite the fuel mileage we were getting.
Yeah, you were able to save the gas. You were able to make it to the end. And Steven, you even led a couple of laps in there. So, heck yeah, great job to you, my friend. You know the drill. Friends, family, sponsors, shout outs. Anybody you would like to mention on the air, the microphone is yours, my friend. You earned it.
Oh, well, thank you. Again, I'd like to thank the community. This is an awesome series. The entire community as a whole is awesome. For the most part, you've got some bad apples out there that kind of makes things difficult for us. But the overall community as a whole is fun to race with. I'd like to thank, everyone from Rogue that helps, and Walter and Trace and everyone and even yourself in some of the races that we run in, guidance, and just when you get guidance from the community to improve racecraft, it makes the community better as a whole. And if we could get a lot of other folks from around the world to understand that, we'll all be better for it. But that's all I got.
I echo those sentiments, Stephen. Congratulations on your third place run tonight, my man. Keep going fast, having fun, and we'll see you at the next one.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're more than welcome. Thanks for being here. That is Stephen Lee. He is going to be your third place runner this evening. We do not have Edson Santos in the waiting room, and so we do want to give Edson his due. He did lead 8 of 136 laps. Edson also started second, and he finished there. And so do want to give Edson the entire Leaner Energy crew. He did have Rafael Eckert as well as my goodness, I got my tongue tied again. Collins.
Vitor.
Leonardo Salvador, which is another one of their team members. He did have them in the YouTube chat in full support, and so do want to give Edson his just desserts. Edson Santos, one of the nicest guys in this community, and so if he does pop in, we will absolutely talk to him. But the man of the hour is Mr. Worst to First, Kyle Clinworth. Clinty, you got Mark and Collins up here standing in for Ryan Eric King. You got a copy?
Yes, I do. Hey, boys, how's it going? I hope you enjoyed the show. I started at the front and decided to park it and put it in the back and run my way through the field. And I just kept to a schedule, kept to a cadence, passed about a third of the field every run. And there you go. I made up one little tiny mistake on the first pit stop. I just slid through my box a little to the left, and that derailed me a little bit, but it let me save all the fuel I needed to make this on 2 stops, because if you went full push, you weren't going to make it. And I think that's what happened to Yari.
Yeah, he wound up, just so you know, his car went bad loose with about 10 to go. Collins and I were up here surmising that he had put the right rear in a nuclear territory because he could no longer get off at turn 4. And so that was what befell Yari. He actually had to make an extra pit stop. The decision to start in the back, was that strategic to save fuel, or was it wanting to get out of the mess and avoid a wreck? Or talk to us about that, because that's an oddity. You would take the pole and then elect for the EOL.
So I decided to qualify to try to get the bonus point for the pole, but a lot of discussion in the Discord this week had let people think that maybe I needed to have some sort of handicap or hindrance. And so I jokingly said, well, I'll start in the back at Atlanta, and we'll see how that goes. So I knew this is a place that I could save my stuff really well and could pass the field. So I gave the field a little bit of a handicap, and it took me all race to get to the front, but it paid off, and patience pays off. Let this be a lesson to everyone watching. So take your time. Don't force things. Just let it happen, and you'll end up where you need to be.
100%. Mr. Collins, what do you have for tonight's winner, Kyle Clinworth?
You got any Sunny D's left? You gonna chug a couple on the way out here, or what's the celebration plan tonight?
I got about 3/4 of a gallon of Sunny D sitting on my porch cooling off right now, and I think I'm gonna go ahead and make myself a couple glasses and get ready, maybe clean up my loft a little bit. I got my buddy Casey visiting from Illinois next week, so that'll be fun. And I just want to just kind of chill, man. I've been racing a lot recently and been working a lot because my coworker's on vacation, so just a little bit of time to myself, I think, will be what the doctor ordered.
I heard that. And so since you are the winner, the worst to first man, Clindy, just a dominating performance. You even managed to lead 10 laps, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but when you come from the back, that's a pretty awesome deal. Friends, family, sponsors, shout outs. The floor is yours, my man.
Yeah, everybody waving the Clendy flag in the chat. I see a couple of Clendy fans in there. I see April, who's been in the chat recently. I see my mom. I see a bunch of other people. I know Will Stern said I'm having a strong year. Shout out to the Leaner Energy crew, Rafi Eckert and Edson Santos. Edson's not in the chat. He was on the track. It was great to battle with him. Shout out to everyone in the Votive Racing League. Shane sponsors me to race this car really well, and I do it to the best of my ability. And you can come do it in the Votive Racing League for free with us when we resume racing on June 8th. Until then, you can either watch my track guides on P1 or come and get coaching from me in the Votive Racing Discord server. You can book one-on-one time with me during the off-season, and I can help you get better on any oval that you'd like. Also, shout out to Techtopia Systems, the new presenting sponsor of Tuesday night Top Split Indy Oval Fixed, and the Rogue Racing team. So it's really cool to have them on the car, and they'll be your go-to source for PC pre-built solutions in Indianapolis. They do all of the top quality building of PCs without cutting any costs, and they give you a break in the wallet department while they're at it. So give them a look up at techtopiasystems.com or reach out to me and I'll get you set up.
Now, Clindy, if we go through Techtopia, does that mean that I avoid the risk of electrocuting myself when I build my own this time?
I don't think computers are idiot-proof, Mark. So I would love to say yes, but I don't know how many warning stickers they have, and I'm not quite sure you can read. So all that to say is we'll get you some rubber gloves, and I think you'll be all right.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for dropping in, Clindy. I'm sorry I interrupted you in the middle, but I had to drop that in there.
No worries. Just one more for Sugarman Farms. My cousin Craig is out planting this week, so he'll catch up on this broadcast later. But and then all my teammates at Rogue Racing. Jacob, good to see you in the booth. Hope to share another podium with you this weekend in Votive.
I think Collins is
Or
gone.
not sorry, next Monday. Next Monday on Isra. Votive season is over.
Yeah,
I don't.
Votive.
My brain is melted, Murph. Obviously.
Well, that's
these hot tracks, hot tires. Whew.
Yeah, it was. I'll tell you what, it was hot last night in Area 51 too. I think Kentucky reached 130 degrees at one point in that one.
Wow, that's hotter than it is here.
Yeah, it was toasty. But congratulations on your win tonight. You build on an already massive points lead. Keep going fast, having fun, Clindy, and we will see you later, my man.
Thanks, Murph. I'll see you guys later.
Yes, sir. That is Kyle Clinworth. He is the winner tonight. And, Collins, I hate to say that we would have told you so, but something told me that old Clindy might have been playing a little bit sly with him tonight, starting in the back, driving it to the front. That was a masterclass in how you do it here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
There's something to be said for just calling your shot and making good on it, and showing that you can not only do it to yourself, but do it to the guys around you that you're competing with, and everybody watching at home. That if you put in the time, put in the effort, and get really good at what you do, you can basically make it happen from anywhere.
Yeah, and there's only a handful of guys that can do that. Clindy is rapidly developing into the next Malechka, the next Trano, the next Demerit, the next Oster, guys that can start from anywhere on any oval, and at the end they'll be at the front. And so we salute tonight's winner, the number 11, Kyle Clinworth. We do want to thank everybody that supports the stream. So Whiplash SimCams for providing the cameras tonight. They do awesome work, and so we do want to thank Whiplash SimCams. Do want to thank the Horizon IndyCar Series for having us. Do want to thank Jacob Collins for stepping in short notice. Our normal color commentator Ryan Eric King, he had to. We were joking earlier. He is a writer for Jalopnik.com, and he was off covering the New York Auto Show this evening, and so he was not able to be here. But I'm sure the Wreck will be back with us for the next broadcast. Speaking of the next broadcast for the Horizon IndyCar Series, we're going to take next week off, and then April 30th we will be at the Nashville Superspeedway, the finale for the inaugural season of the Horizon IndyCar Series. That is May the 7th at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, 250 miles. Do want to also let you know of future broadcasts right here on the P1 Broadcasting Network. Beginning, tomorrow night, we are going to have the Black Magic Studios Grand National Series from Rockingham. That's an 8:20 broadcast, 8:35 race. Sam Crow and I are going to be in the booth for that one. And then on Friday night, if you didn't have enough fun with Xfinity cars at Rockingham, Collins, we're going to come right back and have the trucks. And so that is Thursday and Friday. We do have tomorrow night also. Gary will be with our friends at the Elite Racing League as that series tackles. They're right back here, aren't they, Collins?
I believe that's the case. I believe Quenlerth is going to be going maybe 2 for 2 this week on the old. Actually, he might be going 3 for 4 at Atlanta in all its variations this week. Who knows?
Yeah. So the Elite Racing League, and that's going to be on the Elite Racing Network. That will be a P1 crew. We also, I believe, and I'm going to double check that the Velocity Online Racing League is off on Saturday, and so that puts us right back to Monday night with the IndyCar Series Monday Night Top Split from Motegi. I'm sure Clindy will want to race that one, so I will need to find alternate and far more competent color commentary, and then we'll be at Legacy Phoenix for the IndyCar Oval Series. And that will round out the next week of broadcasts for everybody at the P1 Broadcasting Network. Do want to thank everybody that tuned in. We had another awesome audience this evening, and so do want to thank everybody who showed up.
If you have not already done so, make sure you smash the like button on the video, ring the bell to subscribe to the channel, and be notified of all future P1 Broadcasting iRacing events. We also, for Jacob Collins, our founder, Gary Godso, and my normal broadcasting partner in crime, Ryan Eric King, want to thank everybody out there who does the hard work at night so that we can lay our heads down safely on the pillow and sleep. The police, the military, the EMS, the first responders, firemen, everybody who does those jobs, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Good night from good Atlanta, and we will see you tomorrow for the AMA.